People like to believe that their decisions are independent. They imagine that they compare the facts, evaluate the alternatives, and choose what makes the most sense. Sometimes they do, but many everyday decisions are made much faster. A person agrees to a request because they received a favor first. They purchase a product because thousands of other customers appear to approve of it. They trust advice because the speaker wears a uniform, displays an impressive title, or seems highly successful. They remain committed to a poor decision because admitting a mistake would feel uncomfortable. These reactions are not signs of stupidity, they are mental shortcuts. Modern life contains too much information for people to examine every choice from the beginning. They rely on familiar signals that often produce reasonable decisions. A trusted expert is usually more knowledgeable than a stranger. A popular restaurant may be popular because the food is good. A favor often deserves to be returned. A scarce opportunity may genuinely be valuable. The problem is that these shortcuts can be activated deliberately. Marketers, negotiators, politicians, charities, salespeople, and even friends can structure situations so that people feel pressure to agree before carefully considering what they are agreeing to. In Influence, psychologist Robert Cialdini examines the major principles behind this pressure. He did not study persuasion only from a distance. He entered sales organizations, fundraising operations, advertising agencies, and other environments where professionals were trained to gain compliance. He observed how requests were framed, how offers were sequenced, and how small changes in context produced different responses. His original framework focused on 6 principles: reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, scarcity. In later editions, he added a 7th principle: unity. Each principle describes a common reason people say yes. Reciprocity makes people feel obligated to return favors. Commitment and consistency encourage them to behave in ways that match earlier choices. Social proof makes the behavior of others appear informative. Liking makes people more willing to agree with those they know, admire, or resemble. Authority encourages obedience to people who appear credible or powerful. Scarcity increases desire when opportunities seem limited. Unity creates influence through a shared identity and the feeling that another person is one of us. These principles are powerful because they usually operate automatically. A free sample is not only a product demonstration. It can create a small feeling of obligation. A public promise is not only a statement. It can change how a person sees themselves. A long line outside a store is not merely a group of waiting customers. It becomes evidence that something inside must be worth having. The principles can be used ethically. A doctor can explain expertise clearly so patients feel confident following sound medical guidance. A charity can show genuine examples of community participation. A manager can encourage employees to make specific commitments and support them in following through. A company can honestly warn customers that a product is nearly sold out. Persuasion becomes manipulation when the trigger is used to hide poor value, manufacture false urgency, or pressure people into choices that mainly benefit the persuader. Cialdini's purpose is not to make readers suspicious of every social interaction. It is to help them recognize when automatic responses are being activated. The best defense is often not resisting the principle itself. It is separating the principle from the request. A salesperson may be likable. That does not mean the product is good. A limited quantity may be real. That does not mean the price is reasonable. Many people may have chosen something. That does not mean it fits your needs. The central lesson of influence is that persuasion works most effectively when people respond to a mental shortcut instead of evaluating the actual proposal. Understanding these shortcuts allows people to communicate more responsibly and decide more deliberately. Blink 1. Reciprocity makes people feel obligated to return what they receive. The rule of reciprocity appears in nearly every society. When someone gives us something, helps us, or makes a concession, we feel pressure to respond. This expectation supports cooperation. People are more willing to share resources and offer assistance when they believe generosity will eventually be returned. Without reciprocity, trust and exchange would be much harder to sustain. The same rule can be used to influence behavior. A charity may send a small gift before requesting a donation. A supermarket offers a free sample. A salesperson provides advice, coffee, or a minor service before discussing a purchase. The recipient may feel an obligation even when they did not ask for the original favor. This is what makes reciprocity powerful. The person who gives first can influence the size and timing of the exchange. A very small gift may produce a much larger response. The obligation is emotional rather than mathematically balanced. Reciprocity also operates through concessions. Cialdini describes the rejection then retreat technique. A person begins with a large request that is likely to be refused. They then retreat to a smaller request. The second request can feel like a concession. The other person may respond by making a concession of their own and agreeing. Imagine a colleague asking you to volunteer every weekend for 3 months. You refuse. They then ask for help on one Saturday. The smaller request may seem reasonable partly because it is compared with the first one. You may also feel they have moved toward your position. This technique works best when the first request is large, but not so absurd that the interaction feels dishonest. The ethical use of reciprocity involves giving genuine value without hiding the purpose. The defensive lesson is to separate gratitude from obligation. A gift may deserve appreciation. It does not automatically deserve a purchase, donation, or major commitment. Blink 2. Commitment and consistency turn small choices into larger behavior. People want to appear consistent. They prefer their actions to match their beliefs, promises, and previous decisions. Consistency makes a person seem dependable. It also reduces mental effort. Once a choice has been made, future decisions can follow the established direction. This creates an opportunity for influence. A small initial commitment can make a larger request easier to accept later. Suppose a person signs a public statement supporting safer roads. They may later become more willing to display a large safety sign outside their home, donate to the campaign, or support related policies. The first action changes more than the immediate situation. It may alter the person's self-image. They begin to think of themselves as someone who supports the cause. Cialdini discusses the foot-in-the-door technique. The persuader begins with a small request that is easy to accept. After the person agrees, a larger related request follows. The first yes creates a direction. The second request feels consistent with it. Commitments become stronger when they are active, public, effortful, and freely chosen. Writing a goal by hand often creates more commitment than thinking about it privately. Telling colleagues about the goal creates social pressure. Working hard to join a group can make membership feel more valuable because people want to justify the effort. Consistency can support positive behavior. A person who publicly commits to exercise may be more likely to continue. A company that publishes environmental targets creates pressure to report progress. But consistency can also trap people. They may continue a bad investment, failing project, or harmful relationship because reversing course feels like admitting that the earlier choice was wrong. The defense is not to reject consistency. It is to ask whether the original reasons still exist. A wise person is consistent with current evidence, not permanently loyal to every past decision. Blink 3. Social proof makes other people's behavior look like evidence. When people are uncertain, they look at what others are doing. If many people choose the same restaurant, product, or course of action, the choice appears safer. The group's behavior becomes information. This is social proof. The principle is especially strong when the situation is ambiguous. A person traveling in an unfamiliar city may choose a busy restaurant rather than an empty one. They assume the crowd knows something they do not. Online reviews, bestseller lists, subscriber counts, customer testimonials, and popularity rankings all use this same mechanism. Social proof can save time. No one can personally test every hotel, book, software service, or restaurant before deciding. The experience of others provides useful guidance. But popularity is not the same as quality. Reviews can be purchased. Follower counts can be inflated. A crowd can repeat an error. Social proof becomes even more powerful when the observed people seem similar to us. Parents are influenced by other parents. New employees look at colleagues to understand workplace norms. Teenagers respond strongly to the behavior of peers. A company selling accounting software to dentists may gain more credibility from 10 respected dental practices than from a famous customer in an unrelated industry. Cialdini also explains the danger of pluralistic ignorance. In an uncertain emergency, each person observes everyone else. Because nobody wants to overreact, people remain calm and inactive. Each individual interprets the calmness of others as evidence that no emergency exists. The group's hesitation reinforces itself. A person seeking help should therefore make the situation clear and direct a request toward one specific individual. Someone call an ambulance allows responsibility to remain spread across the group. You in the blue jacket, call an ambulance creates clear ownership. Social proof is valuable when the evidence is genuine and relevant. It becomes dangerous when uncertainty causes people to copy one another without independent judgment. Blink 4. Liking makes agreement feel safer and more natural. People are more willing to say yes to someone they like. This may seem obvious. The important question is what creates liking. Physical attractiveness is one factor. Attractive people are often assumed to possess other positive qualities, such as intelligence, honesty, or kindness. This is known as the halo effect. The judgment in one area spreads into areas that have not been evaluated. Similarity is another source of liking. People respond positively to those who share their background, interests, opinions, clothing style, profession, or life experience. A salesperson may mention a hobby discovered during casual conversation. A negotiator may emphasize a shared hometown. The similarity can be real and still be used strategically. Compliments also increase liking. People generally respond well to praise, even when they suspect it is partly motivated by self-interest. Cooperation creates another bond. When people work toward the same goal, they begin to view one another as partners rather than opponents. This is why skilled negotiators sometimes frame a conflict as us against the problem, instead of one person against another. Liking also develops through association. Brands connect themselves with admired athletes, attractive lifestyles, national pride, or successful events. The positive emotion transfers partly to the product. None of this proves that the product or proposal deserves agreement. A friendly financial advisor can still recommend an expensive investment. A charming job candidate may lack the required skills. A salesperson who shares your interests may still be offering poor value. Cialdini's defense is to notice when liking has become unusually strong in a short period. Instead of trying to stop liking the person, separate the person from the offer. Ask whether you would make the same decision if the proposal came from someone less charming. The goal is not to distrust likable people. It is to prevent personal warmth from replacing evaluation. Blink 5. Authority encourages obedience even when independent judgment is needed. Societies depend on authority. People cannot become experts in every subject. They rely on doctors, engineers, pilots, judges, teachers, and other trained professionals. Following legitimate authority is often efficient and necessary. The problem appears when people respond to the appearance of authority rather than real expertise. Titles are one powerful signal. A person introduced as a professor, director, doctor, or senior executive may receive greater trust even when the title is irrelevant to the issue. Clothing also matters. Uniforms, expensive suits, and professional equipment can create an impression of competence or power. Luxury possessions may signal success, causing people to assume the owner has sound judgment. Cialdini discusses research showing how ordinary people may follow authoritative instructions even when the requested behavior conflicts with their conscience. Responsibility begins to feel transferred upward. The person tells themselves that the authority figure understands the situation and will carry the moral burden. This mechanism appears in organizations. Employees may continue a dangerous project because a senior executive approved it. Patients may hesitate to question a prescription. Junior professionals may ignore an obvious mistake made by someone with greater status. The defense requires two questions. Is this person a genuine expert in the relevant area? And can the expert be trusted to act in my interest? A celebrity may be famous without understanding the product they promote. A qualified advisor may possess expertise but earn a commission from one particular recommendation. Credentials answer only part of the question. People should also examine incentives, evidence, and relevance. Authority is most useful when it guides informed trust. It becomes dangerous when symbols of status switch off independent thought. Blink 6. Scarcity makes opportunities appear more valuable. People value opportunities more when they seem limited. A product described as the last one available may feel more desirable than the same product sitting in a large supply. A deadline can create urgency. Exclusive access can increase status. Information can appear more persuasive when people believe it is restricted. Scarcity works partly because limited availability suggests demand or quality. It also threatens freedom. When an option may disappear, people feel their ability to choose is being reduced. This creates psychological reactance. They want the option more strongly because it may soon be unavailable. The effect is especially strong when scarcity is new. A product that has always been rare may be attractive. A product that was freely available yesterday and is almost gone today creates a stronger sense of loss. Competition increases the pressure further. A buyer may hesitate until another person shows interest. The possibility that someone else will take the opportunity can transform uncertainty into immediate action. Businesses use scarcity through limited editions, countdown timers, invitation-only memberships, low stock warnings, and temporary discounts. These messages are ethical when the limitation is real. Manufactured scarcity is manipulative. A website that resets the same countdown every day is not helping customers decide. It is creating false pressure. The defensive response is to recognize the emotional change. Scarcity can make the heart move faster without improving the product. Ask whether you would still want the item if it were widely available tomorrow. Also ask whether the opportunity's practical value has changed. A scarce product may be harder to obtain. It is not automatically more useful, durable, or fairly priced. Scarcity affects desire. It does not determine quality. Blink 7. Unity creates influence through a shared identity. Unity goes beyond liking. People may like someone because the person is friendly or similar. Unity appears when they feel that the person belongs to the same deeper group. The relationship is not simply "this person is like me," it becomes "this person is one of us." Shared family, nationality, religion, community, political identity, profession, or meaningful experience can create this bond. People often treat members of their group more generously. They trust them more quickly and interpret their actions more positively. A request from a stranger may be evaluated carefully. The same request from someone considered part of the family, team, or community may feel almost like a request from the self. Organizations deliberately build unity. Companies describe employees as a family. Sports teams create rituals, colors, songs, and shared history. Military units use symbols and difficult collective experiences to strengthen identity. Brands form communities around lifestyles and values. Customers are encouraged to see ownership not merely as a purchase but as membership. Unity can produce extraordinary cooperation. People sacrifice for groups they consider part of themselves. It can also weaken judgment and create exclusion. A family member may be trusted with money despite poor evidence. Employees may hide misconduct to protect the company. Citizens may accept weak arguments because they come from their political group. The same force that creates loyalty inside a group can create hostility toward outsiders. An ethical use of unity emphasizes genuine shared purpose without demanding blind obedience. The defense is to distinguish group loyalty from the quality of a specific request. A person may truly belong to your community. That does not make every proposal fair, truthful, or wise. Shared identity deserves consideration. It should not receive automatic approval. Blink 8. The contrast principle changes how offers are perceived. Many persuasion techniques become stronger through contrast. People do not evaluate every price, request, or quality level in isolation. They compare it with what appeared immediately before. A heavy object feels lighter after lifting something heavier. A moderately expensive product feels affordable after seeing a much more expensive one. A small request feels reasonable after a large request is rejected. This is known as the contrast principle. Retailers understand it well. A salesperson may show the most expensive option first. The next option then appears more moderate. A customer purchasing a costly car may treat additional accessories as small expenses because each is compared with the price of the vehicle rather than with the customer's normal daily spending. Real estate agents may begin with unattractive properties so that a later home appears more desirable. The later option may genuinely be better. Contrast can still change how strongly the difference is felt. The effect also appears in negotiation. An initial number creates an anchor. Even when both sides know the number is only a starting point, it influences the range of discussion. A high initial price can make a lower but still expensive price seem like a concession. Contrast is not one of Cialdini's main principles because it affects perception more broadly than compliance, but it supports several of them. The rejection then retreat technique uses contrast between requests. Scarcity compares current access with future loss. Social proof compares one person's behavior with the crowd. The defense is to reset the comparison. Evaluate the offer against independent standards. What is the normal market price? What do you actually need? What alternatives exist? Would the second request appear reasonable if the first one had never been made? The first frame should not be allowed to define the value of everything that follows. Blink 9. The strongest persuasion often combines several principles. Real persuasion rarely depends on one principle alone. A sales event may combine reciprocity, social proof, liking, authority, and scarcity. A friendly representative offers a free consultation. They display professional credentials. They mention that many similar customers have already purchased. They provide testimonials. Then they explain that the special price expires today. Each element adds pressure from a different direction. The customer feels grateful, reassured, connected, and afraid of missing the opportunity. Because the principles operate together, the final decision can feel natural rather than engineered. Digital platforms combine them at great speed. A shopping page may show expert endorsements, customer ratings, the number of people viewing the item, limited stock, a countdown timer, and a personalized discount. The buyer receives several persuasive signals before examining the product carefully. Organizations also combine influence principles internally. A leader announces a public commitment, shares stories of successful colleagues, invokes the authority of senior management, and presents the project as part of the company's identity. This can create alignment. It can also suppress legitimate disagreement. The most useful defense is to pause when several forms of pressure appear at once. Urgency reduces the time available for analysis. Social proof reduces the feeling that analysis is necessary. Authority reduces confidence in personal judgment. Liking makes resistance feel socially uncomfortable. A pause weakens all of them. Write down the actual proposal. Remove the salesperson, deadline, testimonials, and gifts mentally. Examine the cost, benefit, alternatives, and risks. The question is not whether the persuasive signals are false. The question is whether the offer remains attractive after the signals are separated from it. Blink 10. Ethical influence helps people make good choices rather than hiding weak value. Influence is unavoidable. Parents influence children, teachers influence students, managers influence employees, doctors influence patients, companies influence customers. The goal cannot be to remove persuasion from human life. The important issue is whether influence supports informed choice or defeats it. Ethical persuasion uses genuine evidence. A company can show real customer adoption. An expert can explain relevant credentials. A limited offer can be described honestly. A charity can provide a meaningful gift without pretending that the recipient now owes a donation. Ethical influence also respects the audience's ability to refuse. The persuader does not hide important costs, create false deadlines, or use confusion to gain agreement. The long-term advantage of ethical persuasion is trust. A manipulated customer may purchase once and later feel deceived. A customer who understands the value is more likely to remain, recommend the product, and return. The principles also help people communicate good ideas more effectively. A public health campaign can use social proof by showing that most community members follow a beneficial practice. A manager can ask employees to write specific commitments. A teacher can use credible authorities and relatable examples. A non-profit can create unity around a shared local identity. The method does not determine the morality of the goal. It increases the ability to move people. That is why responsibility matters. Cialdini's broader warning is that people are most vulnerable when they believe they are too intelligent to be influenced. Education does not remove mental shortcuts. Expertise in one area does not protect judgment in another. The practical goal is not to analyze every minor decision endlessly. It is to recognize moments when the pressure feels stronger than the evidence. When that happens, slow the process down. A good decision should survive careful examination. Key takeaways from the book. Influence explains 7 major forces behind persuasion: reciprocity, commitment and consistency, social proof, liking, authority, scarcity, and unity. These principles usually help people make efficient decisions, but they can also be activated to gain agreement before the real offer is examined carefully. The best defense is to separate the persuasive signal from the proposal and judge the actual value, evidence, incentives, and alternatives. The book's central lesson is that influence becomes most powerful when people react automatically, while awareness gives them the chance to choose deliberately.